Stock pond, stock tanks and windmills. This presentation is made by Fidel and Pilar. Steps to find a stock pond. Stock ponds can be found near a floodplain close to rivers or an area fed by hills or streams. Find an area where planting beneficial aquatic vegetation can help slow the influx of runoff water so that the water could stir up the pond bottom or introduce new sediments. The steps that were shown in the video on how to purify water. You are given 30 seconds to write down information you want from this slide. Windmills. Pump windmills are used to pull water out of the ground and move the water into a stock tank or stock pond. You can commonly find stock ponds that get water transferred through a windmill around the world. Stock tanks. Stock tanks were made with the purpose of feeding and hydrating livestock like horses and cows. Stock tanks nowadays are also commonly used to build DIY backyard pools and hot tubs. Before we head on to the next slide, here's a sneak peek at DIY stock tanks for our amusement lads.
This is the pump that I'm using. It's an Intex sand filter pump, and I'll add a link to it in one inlet fitting. I purchased these two plunger valves separately, and I was unable to find an outlet fitting anywhere in stock, so I made this DIY outlet fitting from materials I found at my local hardware store for about 10 bucks, and I'll show you exactly how I made it. I'm also using a drill.
5 essential questions. Question 1. When were windmills, stock tanks and stock ponds were originally used? Well lads, windmills, stock tanks and stock ponds were originally used in the 1800s. Question 2. What is the function of windmills, stock tanks and stock ponds? Well, water is pumped by windmills, then transferred into stock ponds and stock tanks that can be used for cooking, bathing, drinking, watering plants, animals and washing clothes. That about sums it up, wouldn't you say, lads? Question 3. How are windmills and turbines alike? Windmills and wind turbines are alike, but the only difference is their structure and purpose, but they create different things, but work the same. Question 4. What would happen if we didn't have windmills, stock ponds and stock tanks? If we didn't have stock ponds, stock tanks and windmills, we would not have crushed grains or pumped water. We would be livid in this crusty desert without some joys we now know of because of our quick achievements. Question 5. Are windmills, stock ponds and stock tanks helpful? Yes, lad E. Without all of these things, humanity would have progressed slower and there would likely be less people in our world because of the bigger lack of water. There would also be less fishing and/or boating swimming structures for our entertainment. And now that just sucks our wallop. You are given 1 minute to write down information you want from this slide.